Hello. Let me see a wave from everybody. How's everyone today? So good to see you. I wish I could hear all of you too, but I can't, but hopefully you can all hear me. We're trying just to get the hand raising feature to work. So if you have a question, I'll see your hand is raising. But if not, we can actually do it the manual way where you raise your hand like this. As I proceed, I'll stop a couple of times to just ask if there's any questions. So I'll make sure that as we're going along, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So good to see all your faces. Hugs, okay? Hugs to everybody. It's really good to see you all. Okay, so let's just dive in. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about over the next few days are somewhat of a review for a lot of you. And I don't mean at all to say I don't think that you know a lot of spiritual wisdom, but some of this will be a review, but I don't really think there's any better time to coordinate all of the things that are going on than while we are in, quarantine or isolation, to see exactly how the universe works, how it is bringing us to this moment, but what we can do from this moment on to move forward, okay? As most of you know who have seen me before, I really have been preparing us for this for a minimum of 8 to 10 years. And there's really nothing here that's going on that's a surprise if you've been paying attention, especially to the themes from the year before us each year since 2012. As 2018 hit, and I looked at all of the themes from all of the year before us seminars, I realized that the guides were really just giving us a kind of shortened, condensed version of what enlightenment is, but also how to achieve it. So they were giving us 8 years really to prepare for this. And it's kind of interesting because at the end of 2018, I would start to hear things from guides about 2019 was almost not a real year for me. And I recognized very, very quickly that it was a bridge year for me where I was really just wanting to help people know what they know. So last year was a really heightened review year for people to find qualities and wisdom within them and to stop seeing themselves as being less than or in a perpetual state of seeking, but to actually take the wisdom in that they've accumulated and unlocked and make it available to them. Over the last year, one of the things we talked about a lot is how when you are living more awake than asleep, or you're living awake and somewhere along that spectrum, you become a point of light for other people. So yes, this experience for all of us is very, very individual, but there's no doubt globally that this is an entirely collective experience as well. So even though we might have been focusing a lot in the last 8 years on individual growth, igniting wisdom within us as individuals, what we were preparing for is not only our own ability to manage these times, but we were also preparing ourselves to be of value to others who feel, more fear, they feel less connected to possibility or optimism or some of the things that we're really supposed to be experiencing, feeling when we're human. One of the things I said I want to talk about in these 3 classes is like, what is the most important element of existence? And I wrote that in there because I know most people would say that the most important element of existence is love. And it's interesting, not to make it a trick question, but existence is love. All of existence is love. Whenever we have any disharmony, we are just dialing down the vibration of love. So yes, the most important element of existence, of course, is love, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything to us if we can't figure out what to do with that. How can we use that information and make it of value? How can we use that to help us through these times, but also to help others through these times? And what I want to talk about is When I started to be able to communicate with guides, there was the long period where I would learn how to hear them. I would learn how to converse with them. I would learn how to see them. I would learn how to kind of interact with them, even maybe in dreams or in other ways. But in all that it is that I did in those years, the single greatest shift for me in life that put me on a trajectory where I understand life more than perhaps a lot of people do, is that I can feel the vibration of love that is not physical. Okay. So, you know, I look around the world and I see how all of these religions have started, and every religion has a thread or core of truth. And then either through intentional or non-intentional manipulations, somehow every religion gets a little bit off its course of being completely connected, but there's always this kernel of truth. And one of the kernels of truth is that, you know, love is the only thing that matters. But each religion shows in a different way that there's an experience of almost like letting in that vibration. Every religion defines it differently. Every religion tries to help us tap into it in a different way. And even non-formal religions, but philosophies like Buddhism and so on, they also help us to have methods and techniques to tap into that vibration. So what I would like people to understand, like from this day forward, is that it's not just an intellectual process to understand that the most important thing in existence is love. It's also, it's a feeling thing. It's a shift thing. It's a movement thing. In all of the years since I've been connecting with guides, if I ever feel isolated or separated or afraid or miserable, or if I'm giving a story to myself that's negative versus the truth, which is that I know life is beautiful and life is filled with joy. So in all of the times where I have that moment of separation from joy, the first thing that I will do when I stop only thinking of myself as an isolated human being, first thing I do is I reach out, and I reach out to guides, the universe, whatever you want to think about it as, and I get the feeling. I let the feeling come through me, because when I have that feeling, it removes me from isolation and it puts me back in the conscious state of we are all one. We are all connected. That this is not something to be afraid of, that we don't have to live in negativity, that we don't have to be afraid. So I have learned since 2005 how to move myself to that state over and over and over again. The good news is, after practicing it for so many years and living in it, you know, through coaching and giving seminars, I really am never, ever disconnected at all anymore. I am very rarely only just Karen. Very rarely do I see myself as only having a human experience. But on those rare moments, if I have that setback where I feel angst, or I feel confused, or I feel judgment, or I feel anything that comes from the human scope of learned emotions, then I quickly get myself back to that space where I recognize and know, and I feel. The most critical element of all is that I feel my state of consciousness shifting to my eternal being again. Okay? This, you know, we've all heard things like this is an illusion. It is an illusion. This is a dream. I'm not going to minimize it. It's a phenomenal dream. It's a great dream. It's an unbelievable dream. It's, I think, well, this is a part of our beings and our eternal experience forever. It will always tap into beautifully and wonderful. But it is an illusion. It's a state of consciousness. Just as different as your state of consciousness when you're sleeping, you don't second guess that your state of consciousness is different when you sleep. When you daydream and you're driving and you miss your exit, you don't second guess the fact that all you did was shift your state of consciousness. You're not focusing on the road per se. You're not unsafe, but your consciousness has shifted to daydreamy because you've changed your state of consciousness. So while we're all here, we're in a state of consciousness that is believing the story of physical manifestation. This is almost like a great big experiment because collectively 7 billion people on the planet are aiming to get back to the knowledge that the state of consciousness that is real is our eternal selves. That's our experiment. So I have given a seminar here and there where we go through the history of almost the world and we see how we have been brought to the moment of accelerated enlightenment. And ever since, let's say, just to make a cutoff point, but since about 1900, you can actually witness how enlightenment has been accelerating steadily and more so ever since 9/11. But there are so many things that have happened that have brought us to 2020. For those of you who were in Grenada, or those of you who attended anything during 2019, you've probably heard me say that 2020, of course, is about clear vision, metaphorically, that we're entering into the state of enlightenment where we can attain clear vision, okay? But you've also heard me say that all we have done to prepare ourselves by knowing what we know has been like surfing lessons, and we have made or purchased or made for each other really awesome surfboards, so that when the tsunami came in 2020, I always use the word big wave because I tried not to make people afraid, but now I think it's okay for me to say tsunami. But when the tsunami came in, those who are living in an awake state have surfboards, and we can ride that wave. We can ride it for ourselves to get ourselves into the shoreline where we choose to be, but we can also help other people come up to the surface instead of tumbling inside the wave. The purpose of this tsunami is that even though there have been countless, and we can't even count how many, opportunities for discovery for mankind to awaken and to shift, there's been a lot of resistance. Part of the way awakening globally works is that since most people are complacently unhappy in a range of unhappiness, in order for them to see something different, they have to go lower in order to rise. So individually and collectively, people have been given an increasing reasons to drop over the last 10, 20 years, and even more so over the last few years. And as we are pushed down by things that are not soulful, by things that are not tenable, by things that we can't manage or handle, as we're pushed down in that new state of pain, the objective is for us to ignite soulful wisdom within us. It's somewhat like, I just can't take this anymore, so I have no choice but to see it differently. But that's the mechanism. So as the universe has been doling out individual and collective opportunities, and my goal is not to kind of reiterate what is so difficult and disharmonious on the planet. We can all see it. But I just want to put a few things out there so we can understand that this accelerated enlightenment is happening purposefully. But the result of us trying to be being pushed down into a greater state of negativity, it shows itself in how disconnected we've become by using social media instead of real contact, by using texting instead of phone calls, by using, I think this is great that we're all together and all, but still there's something about human contact and a hug. There's been a tremendous increase on the planet since 9/11 about people just being more afraid. They're afraid to fly. They're afraid of germs. They're afraid of school shootings. They're afraid of being in public. All of these things are they're the opposite of soulful living. They're the opposite of soulful living. And what does protect us from those things that seem so damaging or harmful is love. which is why I'm asking each of you to understand how we can ignite that vibration of love within us. Okay. Again, it's not an intellectual pursuit. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's a shift. Okay. When I'm in the energy realm and I'm really experiencing this, I'm just changing my view. So I have this. When I'm in the energy realm and I feel this feeling, it is a state of ecstasy and bliss that I experience when I'm not in my human form. So I can now bring that state of ecstasy into my Karen body so I can feel that everything is okay. I can feel that everything is going to be okay. I can feel that everything makes sense. I can feel that this is a story and that this is an illusion, and that I can create whatever story I would like to have in my life and help other people to create that story. Okay, I'm going to pause for 1 second and see if anybody has any questions at this minute, and I'll unmute you if you raise your hand. We're all good? Okay, I'll unmute you, Michelle. Wait, I can't unmute you. I don't know why. Hold on, Michelle. Michelle, stop.
Okay.
Oh, now I hear you.
Can you hear
okay.
me? I had myself muted.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
It's funny. I understand that we're all, anything of our own personal challenge is going to be magnified right now. And it's how long is this going to go on, Karen?
Okay.
How long? I mean, I guess I've used all your tools, and my challenge personally is financial. Okay. And I always challenge financially. It's just the same thing comes up over and over. So yes. I guess my fear is, oh my God, how long is this going to happen? What do I need to do? You know, so that's.
All right, I'll answer that question. I'm trying to find out. I didn't understand. Stryker, can you hear me? Okay, what are you trying to tell me?
What else did I got? All iPad.
She doesn't appear to me.
I'm gonna mute her.
Okay. I had one other question from Paula, but I don't see her, so I'm just gonna.
She's unmuted.
All right, Paula?
Hello.
Hi. Okay, there we go.
I hate video.
That's fine. You don't have to be seen. You can still turn your video
okay.
off and I can hear you.
That's okay. I have a question about what you talked about, love. It's very bizarre, but when I feel deep love, it actually makes me sad. I get so emotional that I can't control my emotions. I cry. I feel it so deeply that it almost has the reverse effect.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to answer both of those questions before I move on, okay? And I might not get to all of yours, Michelle, but the 3 classes will, okay? I know that that's top of mind for everyone, but part of this is to engage in where we are right now, but over the next 3 classes, I will answer your question to a larger degree than I do today, Michelle, okay? All right, first I'll answer Paula's question then. What Paul is experiencing is, as I started to get that feeling of vibration of love and to know what it's like to be in the energy realm and not dialing down that vibration as we do on Earth. It's inevitable. As soon as you're born, you're told things that are that are not true. Told a lot of mistruths. Some people are neglected or abused. There's a lot of things that are so difficult here that we can't stay fully connected to the vibration of love. So what happens is when you return home and you start to tap into that feeling again, you unlock unconscious memories. You remember what it's like to be a soul without a body. You remember where you came from. And when that happens, when you start to revisit looking at the earth life through the lens of your human self, the dichotomy between being in the energy realm and what it's like on earth, it makes you feel in the beginning scared and sad. There's a big sadness that comes with it, which is what Paul is describing. When I started to visit the energy realm and I started to tap into this feeling, it probably lasted, you know, months and months and months, where I couldn't manage anything on earth that was less than the vibration of love. And so you become heightened in your sensitivity of what you can and cannot tolerate. So it's a normal thing. As a matter of fact, most people, when they go through the first big breakthrough in enlightenment, they actually find themselves less tolerant. They actually find themselves more judgmental. So it's sort of like this weird dichotomy that here I am, now I consider myself to be more enlightened and I'm more judgy than ever. Like, how does that happen? And the reason is because you're bringing in the vibration of love that you are. You're bringing in the vibration of love. So you have a heightened sensitivity to what doesn't exist around you in people and the way that it is that they behave, okay? So that sadness, Paula and everyone, it's really just designed to help you to stay connected and committed to things that are loving, and to move away from that which is not in that vibration for you, okay? In my particular life, in my day-to-day experiences, I really don't have anyone in my life anymore that that treats me badly, honestly. There's nothing like that exists at all. I have completely created a life, not just, it's not that I got rid of this and got rid of that. I did some of that, but mostly it's that my life is a reflection of the vibration of love now. So my life is surrounded by loving people and loving experiences. So first, yes, you have to get rid of stuff, even if you're afraid to get rid of stuff that's not supporting that vibration. But then eventually your vibration just increases in human form, and new stuff gets magnetized to you that reflects the vibration of love. So it's two-handed. You make the first effort, and then the infinite wisdom of the partnership of the universe comes in and makes the rest of it happen. So it just continues to grow intensely in that vibration of love, okay? Before I move on to managing Michelle's question to a little degree, what I want to talk about is I want to give you a technique to tap into the vibration, okay? Because I believe that if you guys really learn what it is I'm talking about and you feel it, it'll help you to understand more about what's going on in the world, but it'll also give you this resource, which is infinitely powerful and infinitely available to you. So what I'd like you to do is to, you'll get a recording of this. So it's 12:24. So you'll be 24 minutes into the recording if you want to just go back and see, because I'm going to run through the technique. And what I would love for you guys to do is between now and Wednesday at 7, I would love for you to try this technique, try it at least 3 times. Not that I think you have a lot of free time on your hands, but you do. So there's no excuses. You can do your homework this time, right? So try to do this technique at least 3 times before Wednesday. All right. We don't want you to do it so often that you're obsessing about it, because obsession is the opposite of going with the flow. All of connecting is about being in the flow. It's about letting go. It's about not being overly attached to an outcome. So the reason I'm saying 3 times between now and Wednesday, you can do it every day if you want. If you find that you feel calm about it and excited about it, if you start to feel like, why isn't this working? And you're not coming from the right vibration that will actually let you have the result that you want, okay? So here's the technique. Okay, first thing you want to do is make sure you have a minimum of a half hour alone. And that means no interruptions whatsoever, not even having your phone on vibrate. If you have a pet, this is going to be the 1/2 hour where you're going to want to try to not have the distraction of your pet, because a lot of this has to do with getting yourself into a zone, okay? I'm a big believer that having a dog in your lap when you're meditating is a beautiful and a wonderful thing, but this is going to be that one time where your consciousness wants to snap back into human form all the time. So all you need is an outside stimuli to move you back into your human consciousness. That's why you don't want any outside stimuli as best as possible, okay? All right, so now when I started this, I used a background music, and I look back on the path, and it was really interesting to see how this worked. But someone gave me a CD, and it was like drum music, and he didn't have the box for the CD. So I used to have a little CD player in my room, and I would put the CD in and I would listen to the music, and I was using it only as white noise so that I wouldn't have any distraction. But what was really interesting is later on, and I was doing this for a year and a half, later on, that same guy came to me and he said, "Oh, Karen, I found the box that the CD goes in." And when I saw the box, it said that it was this scientifically developed music that was designed to partner the left and the right brains. So it was called hemispheric music. So now me, back then, the only thing that I felt really good about myself about was my intelligence. So if I had read this CD at the time, I would have been like, F that. No one's going to tell me that they're going to make my brain work better. It's stupid. And I would have totally resisted the music. So you could see how, like, even that one thing of having the hemispheric music without me rejecting it or not allowing it to do something of value, it's kind of interesting how the universe provided even that one simple thing to help me get to where I am. But later on, I did find out that it was hemispheric music. And the CD that I listened to, and for your sake, I'll tell you what it is, but you're welcome to use whatever music that you would like as white sound in the background. And what I used was a CD called Byron by Byron Metcalf, and the recording was called Spiritual Awakening, okay? And again, like I said, I was using it as white noise because I had 3 little kids at the time, and I just wanted to make sure that I could get into that state of consciousness where I wasn't distracted. Okay, the music itself, it is drum music. I happen to love it. After a period of time of allowing my consciousness to move away from my body, it got to the point where I could hear a few notes of that recording, and I would already have my consciousness drift away from my body. So the music that you choose is important, and you want to try to, for a little while anyway, dedicate the music to using it only during this half hour, because we make the most amazing links between our sight, our sound, our taste, our smell, our senses. They're a very Pavlovian part of us. And when we match them all up and we recreate those same stimuli, it can bring us to the places where we were more quickly, okay? So for you, you can try that particular recording, or you can try, preferably without lyrics, a recording of some sort that you like. Make sure you have half hour plus of a non-stop continuous recording, so you don't have to worry about it running out, or if you get to a zone where you really want to be after the half hour, you don't have to worry about running out of the music, okay? All right, the second thing is when you are allowing yourself to be in this state, your body tends to get colder. I don't know why, but it does. So just prepare that you have like a lightweight blanket on you, or the room's a little bit warmer, because you don't want a feeling of a chill, again, to have you have snap back so that you're present to your physical body again. So just make sure that you're prepared to be a little bit warmer as you begin. The second thing is, and this might not be quite as easy because we're kind of confined to our homes right now, but it's also important that you find a fragrance that you will only use during this activity. This one is one of the most important ones, and preferably the fragrance should be complex, meaning Victoria's online. She would understand this. Where's Victoria? Let me see her pretty face. Where is she? There she is. All right, Victoria, you know what I'm talking about, right? A complex fragrance, it means that it has a top note, a middle note, and an end note. And the reason that we're looking for a complex fragrance, so not just a one note essential oil like lavender. It could be a blend, but you want it to have multiple layers. But the reason that we want it to be complex is because your olfactory glands have the greatest muscle memory of any of your senses. It's the reason why if you were to just, smell Old Spice or something and you conjure up amazing, almost tangible images of your grandfather, because we remember and record things through our olfactory glands. So what we're doing is if we're using a complex fragrance that we only use during this period, whenever you smell that smell in the future, it can help you to get back to the state of consciousness that you achieve, okay? The last thing is just try to have somewhat dim lighting, okay? You can recline if you prefer, or you can sit in a comfortable chair. The objective is to not be using your own muscles. So I don't really like sitting up because eventually you're gonna have to hold something up, even if it's your head. So at least just let all of your muscles relax, okay? Now, the next thing is you've got the music, you've got, you're warm, you've got the lighting, you've got the fragrance. The next thing is to try to make a decision, and you can practice this either way. Most people have a propensity for success with either their eyes open or their eyes closed. I have very rarely found people that can have as much success with eyes open or closed. It's usually one or the other. For me, I can only allow my consciousness to leave my body with my eyes open. And I think people are really surprised by that. But for me, it's worked out fantastically well, because when I'm channeling and I'm auto speaking or I'm giving seminars or I'm talking to your guides, you guys don't want to see me with my eyes closed. I don't want to have to come to a seminar and lay down on a bed in the front of the room and then close my eyes so I can tap into your guides. So for me personally, what it did was it allowed me to be in two states at the same time. So I can have my consciousness leave my body and connect with non-physical sources. But it also allows me to be able to be consciously aware of Karen when necessary or when I want to. So, and I also liked it in the beginning, having my eyes open, because I don't feel like I'm getting the same value of something if I fall asleep. And with my eyes closed, I would find that I could fall asleep. Having my eyes open allowed me to stay awake. So those are the reasons that worked for me. But you want to try out which one's better for you. Now, when you are ready to begin then, and begin this half hour, you only have one goal, and that's it. And that is to do nothing. You do nothing. You just literally lay there for a half hour. Try not to think, try not to fret, try not to worry. Take some deep breaths if you like to. If you have any experience with meditation, if you want to just kind of walk your body through relaxation, terrific. It's not even necessary. All you want to do is nothing, and open yourself up to guides, to the universe, to infinite wisdom, to your eternal self. And you can do that just by simply saying, I am here, I am one. I open myself up to wisdom and to infinite love. I am prepared and excited to be able to feel the sensation of my own eternal self, as well as the vibration of love of the universe. Whatever makes you happy, you don't have to use those words. You can say, I look forward to feeling my guide. I look forward to feeling a specific guide. I look forward to feeling a sensation from my higher self. I look forward to feeling or connecting with God. I feel excited about connecting to the universe. Whatever makes you happy is what you want to do, okay? And then during that half hour, just allow and be mindful of whether you feel a touch on the head or a little cool touch on the forehead. Maybe you feel a wash of contentment across your chest. Maybe you feel tingling in a leg. Maybe you feel twitching in an eye. Maybe you feel warmth in your groin. Maybe you feel a touch on the elbow. Maybe you sense a ball of light. The whole idea now is to allow yourself to experience the feeling of non-physical energy. And what you're tapping into then is the vibration of love, the infinite, eternal vibration of love from which we are all derived and from which we are all still connected. Okay, very common is tingling hands as well, or tingling feet. For me, I can feel guides in any way. You know, I actually have guides that one will make me feel a flip in my stomach when she wants to talk. One vibrates my left leg from the knee down. One, I get a wash of energy and contentment in my chest. There's so many different ways that I feel them, but when I feel them, it comes with a sensation of unconditional love. Unconditional love is a little bit different than the love that we might typically feel from one another on earth, because no matter how great or wonderful a person is, or how great or wonderful a relationship is, everyone has an agenda, okay? So even the most loving person has some kind of expectation from you. And as long as there's an expectation, there's going to be a little bit of a dial down on the unconditional nature of the love. So one of the reasons why we do this is to connect into love that has no conditions connected to it, okay? Some people, when they practice, they begin to even hear guides or see them. After the half hour, get up and try to write down any of your experiences. Did you have images? Did you feel like you knew where your consciousness was traveling? Did you feel connected to a specific guide? Did you get a message? Did you get a sign? Do you just feel more calm? Do you feel your body has relaxed? So after your half hour, just simply jot down what your experiences were, okay? The idea here is that as you practice, you begin to be able to tap into something that is greater than our human experience. We get to learn how to tap into that vibration, to tap into that energy on will, at will. So as I said, if I ever feel compromised in my level of happiness, what I do is I realize, okay, now you're pretending that you're only in human form again. Stop pretending that you're just a human. Stop pretending that this illusion is real, and get back to tapping into your unconscious memories that you are eternally the vibration of love, and that the story you're telling yourself right now is false, okay? All right, I'm going to give you guys a second to ask any questions again, if you want to raise your hand. All right, Jennifer, I see you. Can you, Jennifer, can you unmute yourself?
Now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So through all of this, and I know it's a horrible experience for most people, but I'm actually enjoying it in many ways, because I see the positivity that's going to come out of this, and I'm actually excited for it. And it's almost like a reset button for us as a society. We're not hearing about school shootings. We're not hearing about war. We're not hearing about any of that. So it sort of stopped all of that and reset us and put us back in our homes. So, and it made us really think as to what we want to do. So I'm actually excited as to what's going on right now, and I feel guilty. So how do I get rid of that guilt? Because I feel like it's almost taking advantage of people who are in a bad situation, or the first responders, or anybody else. So how do you deal with the guilt?
Okay. All right, Jennifer, it's interesting because someone else sent in a question or put it in the chat room. And the question is, although I'm feeling a bit stuck, I'm really feeling super excited and lucky about this time. Is this weird? So I think it's kind of interesting that we're all coming in with the same similar question at the time. I'm going to mute you and then I'll answer it, okay? All right, there's a way to manage that, and one thing is on a daily basis, just make sure you're reading my Facebook posts, because a lot of these things I address on a daily basis, just as a kind of way to keep you where you want to be. But the first thing is that I learned that to be non-judgmental means that we're releasing the feeling of superiority. When we are judgmental, it means that we think that we're in a superior position than others. And it's kind of natural because we're kind of taught that we have to do whatever we can in order to feel really good about ourselves or whole. So it's natural that we would judge. So we have comparatives about seeing that we have value, or for some people that they don't even realize it, that they have low self-esteem and they're actually trying to use a comparative to show that they're less than. But when I was releasing judgment, what I learned from guides, and this concept is in the book Begin Here. That was my second or third book, I can't remember. Begin Here. One of the most profound concepts that I learned from guides in Begin Here was to start to not see it as judgment, but just see yourself as an observer. And you can observe everything going on. And as you're observing, you're still also allowed to have preferences, okay? When you observe and prefer, you take away that bite or that sting of judgment. And you stay in a state that's higher where you're okay being where you are without feeling like there's something that you're supposed to do to make something better for somebody else. So I can observe things, and I can observe the chaos that people are experiencing or the fear that they're living in, or I can even observe how they might be contributing to the extension or longevity of this particular crisis. But I prefer my sense of peace. I prefer to being in my state of wisdom. I prefer to be in my state of comprehension, where I recognize that there is great, powerful, fantastic opportunities enfolded into this massive global happening. So that helps me to not feel guilt, but it also helps me to not feel like I am being judgmental, okay? The other thing too is that when you're feeling excited and you're not jumping into the bandwagon of feeling negativity, what you're also doing is you're releasing yourself from diving into the well with other people when they are experiencing challenges. And remember that if you are in the well with other people, you can't help. If you stay above the well, you can help. If you're a shining point of light, as we all are on this call, if you're a shining point of light, it doesn't necessarily come with any sense of responsibility, but it comes with the privilege of being able to be of value to others when you feel like making a contribution, okay? So it's okay to say, I don't feel any guilt in not coming down to that level because I can't help anybody if I'm in the well with you. And I do see myself as having perhaps more clarity and potentially be able to be of value to those who are struggling, all right? I also, as both Monica and Jennifer have kind of put into their questions, I feel a great amount of excitement. I know that it's been since 2012 that I've been told that 2020 will bring about a brand new period of enlightenment and the external opportunity for us to live in a more soulful state. So I'm really, really excited that why would we want to go through another 100 years of eking out like another inch? Oh my God, we made another quarter inch of progress. It's tedious. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I think maybe I've only got, wow, I don't know how to do that. I think I've only got like maybe another 50 years here on this planet. And I really would like to see humanity kind of like come together. I think that would be so cool. So I don't have 1,000 years to have people get their stuff together. I just don't. So I want to get it together now so we can actually live in the joy of soulful behavior. All right. So that brings me back to, and I know this will be a review for a lot of people, but the other thing that I wanted to talk about today is one of the most essential parts of all of this. See if you can see. Yeah. What we're really experiencing is a shift in our perception of reality, where the process of accelerating enlightenment is really just shifting from ego to soul. Ego is the human wrapper, and it's the embodiment of all of the experiences that any human being on the planet has had. So your human wrapper and your ego is every time somebody mistreated you, every misinformation that you've ever heard since birth, abuse, neglect, fear, accumulated negative emotions and experiences. So all of that gets pushed into the wrapper. And that really just is the human wrapper that just wraps up the soul. The soul doesn't have any of that. The soul doesn't have access to negativity. The soul is love. The soul is infinitely wise. The more we live in ego, the more we separate from soulful behavior. So as a planet, for thousands of years, we've been moving away from soulful behavior. The journey collectively is for us to move back to soulful behavior. So some of the things that we see on the planet right now are coming from the ego, an egoic perception, believing only the human wrapper, okay? So let's look at that for a second. But I just want to mention this, that the ego's not all bad. You know, we think about the ego as maybe being all bad, but it's not. Because your ego, it allows you to navigate time and place. That's another part of being human. When we're not human, souls don't have time. They don't have space. There's no such thing as time or space from a quantum perspective. When I'm in the energy realm, I get that there's no time and there's no space. So when we come into a body, which is the ultimate embodiment of the soul and physical manifestation, we need to have the resources that allow us to live within the illusion of time and space, okay? So we need the ego. It's not about dissolving the ego. It's about dissolving the negative implications of the ego. It's about learning how to have the ego be present, which is allowing us to be human in physical manifestation, but to allow the infinite wisdom of the vibration of love that is our soul to shine through. You know, in a lot of ways, this can be kind of metaphorically understood between the right brain and the left brain. The left brain we can see as being analytical and logical, and you know, our ability to think and to come up with rational decision and rational thinking. But the left brain also is our storage center for emotions, particularly negative emotions. So what happens is the left brain kind of botches it all up by putting it all in one big pot and doesn't know how to separate it all. Where the right brain is our access to our infinite wisdom. It's accessing love, peace, creativity, joy, ecstasy. All of that comes from the right brain, and that's our soulful self. That's our eternal being. So the shift on the planet is to move from ego to soul while staying in the human wrapper. We are really allowed to have a utopian life here by living soulfully in the human wrapper. For those of you who have spent a lot of energy and had a lot of success with integrating aha moments and becoming more and more enlightened, you've probably found that you're not quite as good at time and space as you used to be. The reason is because we're used to toggle back and forth, left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. When you spend more time in your right brain and you spend more time in that channel back out to infinite love, you are not practicing using the earthly skills that allow you to navigate time and space. It's just a skill set, right? So I'm not as good at time and space as I used to be. I used to be really, really good at them, and now I'm not, to the detriment of the people who know me, but that's okay. It's all right. It's a very small sacrifice to pay. So soulfulness, what it is that we're looking for, is to live within peace, creativity, unity, cooperation, and so on. So I see, and I'm sure most of you have seen in the last 20 years, there's been a big exaggeration of the egoic consequence on earth. The exaggeration shows itself in the big gap between the wealthy and middle class or poor, right? So it shows itself in school shootings. It shows itself in pollution. It shows itself in the way that we source our meat. It shows itself in how we are not taking care of the planet as far as our consumerism. So all of these things and tons more that we can say, it shows itself in how, here we had this great big movement back in the earlier days of industrialization where we had unions come in so that we weren't working, 60, 80 hours a week, and we got back down to 40-hour work week, right? Well, we seem to have slipped away from that as well. So much of our culture is working nonstop, and when they're not at work, they have to be accessible by email or by texting. So this is not soulful living. So all of these things that separate us from being able to just enjoy life, to enjoy love, enjoy freedom, enjoy relationships, enjoy nature, enjoy creativity, enjoy passion and hobbies and play and being outside and all these things that we're meant to do while we're here. Our egoic concentration on the planet is preventing us from doing it. So we've been leading up to this moment where coronavirus would say, all right, so since we gave you all these chances to get back to soulfulness, and since we also have prepared so many millions of people to become points of light, it's now time to pull the rug out from everyone in egoic behavior. That's what's happening. We're pulling it all out. All right, so see how this works. Number one, people are working remotely. How many people were told that they couldn't work remotely, that your company wouldn't let you? Okay, now it's quite clear that we can work remotely. It's not that it's the solution, it's just that it's another possibility of soulful living. So maybe more people as a result will be able to work in the office 3 days, so they're still having socialization and meetings and coordination and all of that aspect of being human. But maybe 2 days a week, they'll be able to work remotely. So they have flexibility so that they're more available if they're raising children or if they're a caregiver to older people, so that they have the ability to go see their child's play and then work from, at 7 o'clock at night instead. Whatever it is that allows us to live and breathe in the wholeness of what being human means, we have the potentiality of that growing more. The other thing is, I've noticed, with the exception of 1 or 2 people, most people who are working remotely, I find they're working less hours. And not only are they working less hours, but they also are cutting themselves off at a certain period. So they're going and they're playing puzzles with their family, or they're playing games, or they're going for walks, or they're doing all kinds of stuff that they didn't usually do. So even if they are working remotely, they've found that their weekends are their own and night times are their own. So what happens is, if we start to really value having access to a whole life again, then we're going to put down, we're going to say, I'm not going to accept this anymore when we go back. I'm not going back to what I used to live with, because we know we don't have to, and now collectively we can stand up. We can all stand up. For many years, people have heard me say, every time I have a client that's in a leadership role, one of the first things that we do is that they will change policy and not just give lip service to a balanced life for their staff, but to tell them, I don't want you here if you're not balanced. You're of no use to me. You're of no use to me. When you clock out at 5, I don't want to hear from you until the morning. There's nothing so damn important that it can't wait until you're at work again. Okay. So all my clients that have leadership roles, they've been doing this for a decade. They've been soulful in their company. And that sense of people's appreciation for that method of being in business makes them feel loyal, but it also makes them more productive. If a person is living at work in resentment, they're going to be less productive. And they may even sabotage the company from within, okay? So when we actually start treating humans as though they are souls and they're entitled to abundance, they're entitled to freedom, they're entitled to time off, when we get back to treating people like that, we will all benefit from it. One of the greatest things now is with the advent of there'll be increased unemployment, it's going to allow people to be, more competitive about who they bring in. Companies are going to bring in more soulful people. They're going to care more about the customer and the staff because they're learning through all this that they can't compete in the new world in the way that they used to when they only cared about the stockholder. That's another great benefit that's coming from this. The companies who survive in any industry from this point forward, they cannot any longer be stockholder centered. In order to succeed, to get any percentage of market share from whatever market is still in existence, they're going to have to be customer and staff centered. So this is another potential benefit. Another thing is back when my kids were in elementary school, I was the first person, and I never heard of anybody doing this before, but I was the first person that opted my kids out of Common Core testing. And I just did it. No one told me I could. I just did it. I just wrote a letter and I said, my kids are not coming in for Common Core testing. I don't know what made me do it. Intuition, I guess. And I wound up getting phone calls from the school. I got a scripted phone call from the principal. And the whole script was like how harmful this was to my kids and the damage I was doing, because in real life, kids have to have stressful circumstances. By me opting them out, they're not learning how to manage their time, manage their stress, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, listen, this has nothing to do. My kids will do fine on the test. And the reason you, more than anyone, want my kids to take them is because they make the teachers look better, because they do well. My kids do very well on them. I'm not concerned about their stress. What I am concerned about is that we are not teaching to anything but the tests anymore. So for 20 years, I've known that this is going to lead us into a hellish space, which it has. So now here we are. So I have a senior in high school, and he's in the IB program, and all of his IB tests were canceled. All of his AP tests are canceled. I'm like, yeah. So for 20 years, I've been saying, let's stop teaching to the test. Now they're also, oh my God, they got to take the test. Oh my God, they got to take the test. Well, now you don't have to take the test. So obviously there's another way. So all of these things are tumbling because the ego is deconstructing. In order for us to build a soulful planet, we have to deconstruct that which is no longer serving us. Okay? Yes. Yes. So this is a time to be celebrating. It is a time to say, let's deconstruct what's no longer working. Let's replace it with what is working. Okay? And I know we're at our 1 hour limit now, but I do want to point out a couple of things. Please do your homework assignment of connecting to the vibration of love. Feel it, know it, be it. Maybe come back and report in. And I would even, if you want to write little emails to me, Karen@KarenGarvey.com, I could even put together a little PDF that I can send out to everybody, because the more we share what happens to us in that 30-minute experience, the more other people can be witness to their own experiences that they might have disregarded, or they might have thought, oh, that was nothing. And then you read someone else and like, oh, maybe it was something. So let's also share those experiences, and I'll send out a PDF to everyone before. I like that. Amen to no teaching to the test. I say in classrooms, let's let the teachers have the classrooms back, right? Let I trust teachers. Let them have their classrooms back. We educated them, we trust them, give them their rooms back. Absolutely give them their rooms back. Okay, so share experiences that you have, send them to Karen@KarenGarvey.com so we can share with each other. We don't have enough time in our time here together to share. I would have loved to have everybody share, but I'll put them in writing. That way you can see that you might have thought something was nothing, and when someone else writes it, you realize it is something. The other thing is, as we're moving from ego life to soul life, keep a log for yourself about the potential benefits that you can see for yourself personally, and then for the planet and the globe, that moving from ego to soul, as ignited through the coronavirus, can offer us. So a list of benefits is going to be an enormous boom to you in this experience, okay? Michelle, I'll give you one brief answer, and like I said, we'll talk about your question more on Wednesday and on the following Saturday. But the answer is, how long is this going to last? This is, when people hear like the power of now, what the power of now really means is that we are creating reality in this second. What we think, feel, and believe, and the actions that we take are projecting consciousness and energy into this physical manifestation of reality, okay? So we cannot actually predict when, per se, this is going to end. I feel like it's going to be sooner than a lot of people are predicting, which I think is really good news. The answer is, if we want it to end sooner, it's important that we cull the benefits for ourselves and help others cull the benefits as much as we possibly can. Culling the benefits will make the value of coronavirus having been served instead of needing to linger. That's the answer. We have the power. It's important that we recognize there is nothing random in the universe. There is nothing random. We have the power. We have the power. You have the power, Michelle. Everyone on this call has the power. Integrate the benefits and we'll minimize the timeline for coronavirus. All right, everybody. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Email me if you have any questions. It was really fantastic to see all of you. And I will see you again at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. 3 times visit the energy realm. I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.